Well, hello there, my friend. I have nothing important to say to you today. Just enjoying my day off. Wanna join me? Well, then just sit here and let's enjoy it together. The majority of this year I spent making my super duper crab cult for Turnip 28. It was fun and stuff, but now is the time to give myself a little break and do something less demanding before I take on my next project. Since I discovered Turnip, I amassed a few historical miniatures kit of all kinds. When I was building and converting them, I have always been admiring little details on the sculpts and how much love and care was put into making them, while simultaneously covering them in texture, clogging and shading over those same details. So, to atone for my miniature sins, I have decided to build and paint some historical miniatures as they were intended to be. What captured me the most are the knights from Perry Miniatures. I put together 3 from late medieval period and 1 from Edge Incord kit. Man, I love me some knights in shining armor. 1 wise man, 1 set, they are like medieval armored vehicles. Other minis I assembled were 1 13th century peasant and knight from new Wargames Atlantic kits and another Paris Agincourt knight, this time on foot. I like new historical Wargames Atlantic stuff for its versatility and interchangeability between kits. But I think they are a little less detailed than Paris miniatures. It makes them look less realistic in comparison, in my opinion. But enough of these ramblings. Now for the paint job. I gave all minis black prime with white zenithal. Then I put on some base color, like brown for horses' furs, leather and wooden bits. Then metallics and some other colors to give individual minis more character. With all base coats done, I have washed minis with strong tone and left them to dry. But while they were drying, I had really nothing to do and also I was in the mood to assemble something, so I whipped out the Dungeons&Lasers dragon box I had lying around and started building it. Well, look at this, it comes with 2 identical sprues. Good to know that extra bits could be good starting point for Turnip Dragon. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's concentrate on the task at hand. I assembled the dragon according to instructions. I was really liking the big fella and couldn't wait to paint him. But the wash on the other minis was already dry, so I got back to them. I gave them some quick highlights with original colors here and there. Then I applied some texture. I really love this Vallejo matte. While the texture was drying, I got back to the dragon. The kit has this teeny tiny little base included on sprue, and I didn't like it one bit. So I got to make a new base out of this thick foam board. But the base will not just be simply bigger with some texture on it. I want to make it more interesting and elevated. To achieve it, I cut big chunks of foam to create base of rocky cliff the dragon will be sliding down from. Then another of my genius ideas struck me. To create texture of the rocky cliff, I mixed some paper towels, rocks of various sizes, texture pastes and black paint. It looked disgusting. Its consistency was questionable, but I started to stick in it on the foam cliff anyway. I spent almost all of this wild concoction while making a huge mess all around my desk in the process. As I gazed at the child of this labor, I was deeply moved by all kinds of unsettling feelings it stirred inside my soul. I was deeply disturbed and disgusted by the sight of it. And when I say I am disturbed and disgusted by something I created, I mean it, because most of my art looks like this. By the way, you can buy some pieces as prints on Etsy. Link in description. Buy my art, buy my art, buy my art, buy my art. You want it so bad. But anyway, I cleaned all the shite of the foam and started anew. This time I went with safer approach and simply covered this soon-to-be cliff in texture. Way better. And speaking of texture, it dried on my historical minis. These horses have some grass stuffs sculpted on the bases, so I painted them green. Then I glued some flock and also added some grass on top of it, covering the flock and making it pointless. But that didn't make the process any less enjoyable. That was the last step of making these minis fully painted. It was quick, it was simple and very satisfying. The issue I had with Wargames Atlantic minis ceases to exist when you paint them. You can paint them as simple or as detailed as you want to. I went for simple paint job because I was not trying to do anything serious. I was just having fun with my mini soldiers. And now back to the dragon. I gave it a simple box art paint job, blue body, grey underbelly and yellow wings. When painting the majority of the body, I used blue wash ink, and for the wings I used yellow contrast color. Blue ink did an okay job tinting the model, but I didn't like how it flows into recesses, so I mixed an oil wash and recess shaded the entire model. I liked it so much that I mixed up separate wash for the wings to give them more definition. And after all the good time I had with the oil washes, I decided to punish myself by highlighting details on the dragon. The number of segments and little details makes it look like it would take a lot of time. But it was pretty fast. And with the detail highlighted, the dragon was painted. Now let's give him a proper base. I simply painted his rock black and dry brushed it with grey and white. That's how you make rocks look like rocks, you know. The dragon will be attached to the base with thick brass rod. I took it, gave it a proper scraping with a sandpaper so the paint stick to it better, and stuck it into the cliff. Then I mounted the dragon on it. Although the dragon was painted, it was still missing one detail. This is some kind of storm dragon, and it comes with clear plastic linings on the sprue. And I like them so much. So I glued them on. I scraped the contact points with my hobby knife so I could attach them with plastic glue. The last thing to do was to paint the brass rod with matte black color. And now the Dungeons&Lasers dragon is finished. For how big it is, it was one of the easiest paint jobs I have ever done. And I even accidentally matched the box art pretty well. I think it is a good thing to paint something just for the fun of it. Not every painting project has to be for wargaming army. Now I have some pretty cool knights and big dragon to put on my shelf. And wait a minute, dragons, knights, dragons, knights, dragons, knights? What could be the relation between those two? I think my brain is giving birth to another brilliant idea. Well, we are not finished yet, because I decided I'm going to incorporate the dragon and one of the knights into a diorama. They will be depicted as charging against each other. I elongated dragon's base and covered it with texture. I am not usually a diorama guy. I just don't see what's their purpose. they just be collecting dust on the shelves, never being touched or used for any games. But any of the models I made for this video is not going to be used for anything anyway, so I'm gonna do it. When I saw the dragon and the knight side by side, I found their paint jobs not matching very well. After all, the paint job I did on historical minis was pretty much bare bones. So I decided I'm going to make my knight a little more vibrant. I brightened up some of his highlights and also added yellow and purple accent colors. Some details were painted on, and in the end I used blue contrast color with water to tint knight's and horse's armor. Now he will look way better on the diorama next to the dragon. And now back to the base. It would look pretty dumb if knight would be charging against the rocky cliff, so I removed it completely. I fixed the hole with some texture, painted over it, and finally dry brushed it with grey and white. I attached the dragon and the knight into their positions, adjusted them a little, painted brass rod black again, and started giving the landscape a little more character. I used matte texture here and there, then I added some flog mixed with glue, painted on some dirty down moss, and added various stuffs. And now it's finally done. At the start of this project, I didn't plan to end it with diorama. But the artist in me knows all too well that when the muses begin to sink into your ears, they leave you with nothing to do but dance to the tune. And that is exactly what I did today. And I am happy with it, even if it is not the most perfect thing ever. This little project was a nice break from army painting, and now I am all fresh to get hold of a new challenge. But once again, I am not quite sure what my next video is going to be about or when I am going to put it out. I am a working man, I am a family man, and in addition, I am always juggling between 3 or 4 various art projects. So, just be patient and I will cook up something good for you. If you are new here, go check out my previous videos, and you can also give me a follow on Instagram. Also, you can click that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. And that's all for today. See you next time. Bye my art.